Morning, y'all. This is David, the Georgia photographer. Today, what I want to talk about is the photography industry killing itself? I was going to do a lens review on this 50, I think it's a 58 1.2. It's a Canon FL or an FD mount lens, which is a very unique locking system, I might mention. It came in on eBay and it's got a small issue with one of the screws, and I finally got it on the mount adapter, but I think this lens has been dismantled and messed with, so I don't know that it might be a real fair review because of that. But these are all very old lenses and you never know what you're going to get, so I may do that review as is anyway. But it does have one of the two housing screws is not the right style, and it looked like it was slightly backed off. And I tried to tighten it up with a pocket knife, and I was trying to do an unboxing. 58mm f1.2. I wound up messing with it till I got the adapter on and got it to lock, and then so it's actually taking good photos. So, but it's got some really interesting things about it. Like, it's got this aperture ring is on the front, and it also has a auto manual aperture band right behind it. And once you choke off the aperture, you have to pull that band around to pull the blades in, and then as you bring the aperture back open, that band moves back out to the f1.2 position. It took me a minute to figure that out, but it's actually a really nice lens. The cats have come to visit down here on the porch, and I've got a couple of photos of them. And as you can see, it's actually very sharp, wide open. These are shot wide open, and it's got some interesting background bokeh, which that's an oak tree about 15 feet behind that cat on the handrail, behind the gray cat. You know, and you can kind of see how the background elements blow out on it. Point being is I was going to talk about this lens, but I've decided I really want to talk about the industry as a whole making products. All right. Problem that I'm seeing with the whole photography industry now is that we've gotten to be consumers who demand instant gratification to the point we can't stand it to wait more than a year or so for a new product to be launched. If it takes over a year, this company's gone stagnant, or this company's in financial trouble and they can't afford to launch new products. And you know, you see, like, some people were speculating recently about how camera sales are down. Well, there's a good reason for that, I think. Now, I'm speculating here. I got no insider information. I've got no inside track to lead me one way or the other and give me finite data. This is all just observations of the industry. And I believe that the industry is choking itself off. I think products have been hitting the shelves, just every one after the next, as fast as they can. And it's coming to the point that the market's basically it's hitting a wall. There's a saturation point where everybody's got really nice gear and they don't need to buy the latest camera now. You know, Tony Northrup just did his video about, does 61 megapixels really bring that much, or does pixels actually help that much? And he's printing larger and larger and larger and larger images until he starts to pixelate them. And I get it. You know, if you're going to print a 64 by 80, you know, what was that, 7.5 feet wide? If you're print 7.5 feet wide, you're probably either A, really wealthy, or B, commercially employed to do this. And if you're commercially employed to do this, then you're just passing that cost on to the consumer. And if you're very wealthy, then the cost of a A7R4 is irrelevant. So either way, it doesn't really matter. You know, that I thought that was kind of what's the right word? Ironic. Point was, it was a good video. He brought a good scientific point to the table. Was, you know, most average people print 8x10s, and even an iPhone printed a good 8x10. He made that point. You know, he even admitted it openly. You know, if you're printing 24 by 32s or whatever that aspect ratio works out to be, you need a few more megapixels apparently. But if you're just printing, you know, the 8 by 10s that you hang on the wall to show the growth of the child over the years from every school year picture or whatever, the iPhone will do just fine. There you go. But I really believe that the industry has been driving itself so hard to one-up the competition every time. This great new feature, this great new feature, this great new feature, that they've gotten to the point to where the manufacturers are starting to run out of things to innovate. So you're seeing these mediocre releases and you're thinking, why? You know, Casey over at Camera Conspiracies calls Canon's launches, you know, he says they go in and they use the Canon cripple hammer, you know, and they take something away when they give you something else. And there's a reason for that. And it's because if they give you everything they have right now, they've got nothing for next year. They're sitting on a bunch of tech, but they're sprinkling it and they're letting it out little bits at a time so that they've got something for next year. You know, when you were making film cameras, there was only so many ways to open the shutter and close it on a mechanical film camera. So, you know, you had the Nikon F2 and it lasted for many years, and then they came out with the F3, which was a little bit better, and it lasted for many years, and then the F4, you know, and over literally from about 1971 till about 2002 or 3, so you're looking at about 30 years. They came out with 6 models. I think the F6 was the last film camera. You know, the F2, well, 5 models, F2, F3, F4, F5, yeah, 5 cameras basically in 30 years, because there was no real value in launching vastly new products every single year. But they fell into this new car culture, and now you've gotten to the point to where they've been driven, the smartphones have to drop a new smartphone every year, and it has to do something spectacularly different from last year's phone. But people are keeping their phones longer now. You know, they're using them longer. They're putting more batteries in them. You know, they're buying batteries and putting fresh batteries in them and using them for more years. And, you know, they're taking better care of them because they're expensive. Sony kind of led the charge on this because what they were trying to do is bring the newest and latest and greatest device. And I gotta admit, it's fun to get a new camera. Who wouldn't enjoy that? But you're not obligated to go buy this new camera just because a new camera came out. Okay, that's the point I'm trying to make here, is don't let the fact that they're bringing cameras out, I mean, twice a year. We're seeing them in the early part of the year and then in the late part of the year, because there's 2 different big photography events, and it allows them to drop models twice a year. Twice a year? We don't need that. What we need is people understanding that their equipment is just fine and they're able to do amazing things with the equipment they have. Once that equipment becomes a limitation for the photographer, then it's time to get a new piece of equipment that will unlock those levels of achievement, if you want to call them that, to get them to that next point to where they can actually push through that boundary. So what do you guys think? Do y'all think I'm just full of it? Do y'all think that we should be dropping new cameras once a week? You know, what about once a year? What about once every 2 years? You know, the Nikon still rides that a little bit, because like the D810 come out I think in 2014, and then the D850 come out I think in 2016, and it's been out for 3 years now, and they're talking about upgrading it. But the D850 is still a monster of a camera. It's an amazing camera. You know, it's like the 5D Mark IV, an amazing Canon camera. I don't have one. I've never laid hands on a 5D Mark IV, but I have seen the images they produce. Incredible content from a simple camera that's several generations old, you know. So do they have to drop a new camera every single year for them to stay relevant? What do y'all think? Let me know in the comments below. Let's just have a discussion about this. Does it need to be so frequently that we have to get a new camera? I don't think so. I really don't think so. So let me know what y'all think. I appreciate you guys watching and listening to my mild rant, if you want to call it that. about the industry at large, because I've been watching videos and I'm noticing lots of YouTubers have become newscasters, and they're doing nothing more than talking about the newest equipment coming out or speculating on the newest equipment coming out. And I'm starting to unsubscribe from those channels because it's getting boring. I don't want to hear non-stop chatter about what's coming out, what's not coming out. Jared Polin used to be entertaining to me. I'm kind of losing that. Yeah, I know a lot of y'all already have, and it's probably for the same reasons. And I used to like David McKeegan. You know, he's a British guy, and he's got a little lapdog, and he's typically got a pretty funny video. But he's just about turned into a news channel. So I'm looking for smaller YouTubers at this point. I've got 2 or 3 new ones that I've picked up. Like, there's one called the Monochrome Memoirs. I like their channel real well. They want to talk about photography. They're not talking about the newest and latest and greatest camera. You know, those guys, they got about 3 or 4 times the subscribers I do. They're about 4,000 as of this video, give or take a few. And it's a husband-wife team. Great channel. I really like his channel because he talks about relevant issues. You get the point. So with that, this is David, the Georgia photographer, and appreciate you guys watching. We'll talk to y'all later. And get your camera out and go take a picture with it. All right, we'll see y'all. Bye-bye.